Hello, dear friends. Hi, this is another program with Silver for Syl Ver Reflections. I'm so sorry I skipped one program last week, but I was really sick, so I was not able to actually speak or reason because I had a terrible headache and I had a very busy week. And now I'm back. I really feel very fine. And I just thought a lot about the subject that I wanted to share with you today. And I decided to talk about how we can use some moments of our day, which are very good and very adequate to do meditation, uh, to pray, and to set the intentions to do something very interesting. I'm talking about early in the morning when we wake up and in the evening when we go to bed. In fact, this, especially when we wake up in the morning, we are still with our brain in our alpha waves, because when we sleep, we're in deep sleep, we are in delta. But when we wake up in the morning, we can be easily in alpha if we are still, very comfortable in bed, and we do not have to rush. And this is really the best moment of the day to set the intentions and to meditate, to be grateful for the day, for who we are, for what we do, for what we have. But this is especially important to set the intention for the day. Because by being in an alpha state, we are still very receptive to our higher self. We are more intuitive, and we have the possibility to be much more creative. So we can create our day early in the morning and with what we really want in our hearts. So this is the time, for example, when I set intention for my day. I decided that during that day, I want to live in a certain way. For example, I may decide to live in my full power, or I may decide to live in the fifth dimension where everything is flow and synchronicity, or I may decide to uh, have a day characterized by radiant health and great energy. So, whatever is important for me during the day, I can really decide it early in the morning. And it's going to stay. It's going to stay with us for the whole day. And sometimes it's worth remembering what we decided to be or to do or what to have during the day. This is also a wonderful moment to devote 3 or 4 minutes to gratitude. We can decide to um, spend some time uh, in bed, um, thanking the universe for what we are, for what we have, or for what we can do um, now, or what we had in the past, or even thank the universe for the future. If we have nice projects or if we want to do something special. Um, Maybe in some months' time or in a year time, if we have already decided, for example, what our intentions and plans are for 2021. I have not finished yet. Um, and so this is the really best moment of the day to create a new narrative, to create the narrative we really want for ourselves. And this is something that we discuss a lot with my students, because sometimes people have difficulty in learning how to meditate. And it's also very important to understand that being in a meditative state does not mean that we always have to sit cross-legged or, in a quiet place, because we can be in a meditative state even if we walk or even if we daydream. Even if we drive, sometimes, in fact, I imagine I'm actually in a meditative state because I don't even remember where I'm going, and or what kind of road I took with my car. It's totally automatic because my mind is somewhere else. I am somewhere else. And that's I think you can relate with them with that very, very much. And but early in the morning is really important because we are still in an alpha level of consciousness, and alpha is very um, is really good for meditating, for praying, and for asking, for um, giving the universe your dreams. And this is really the best moment to do that. We can actually recreate alpha states whenever we want during the day. And there are many techniques. A very quick technique is just to sit quietly, and breathing in, breathing out, and probably and rolling, closing the eyes, and rolling the eyes upward as if we are looking at our crown chakra. That position of the eye brings the brain very quickly in an alpha state. Um, Another way of doing is like self hypnosis by counting backwards, maybe from 100, or from, if we're trained, we can do this very quickly by counting back from 10 to 0, and then, counting from 1 to 3, deciding that when we have arrived at number 3, we are fully relaxed and in an alpha state. So we can actually use this self hypnosis techniques to be in an alpha state immediately. As far as I'm concerned, I drop in an alpha state immediately when I close my eyes and I decided to meditate. And that is very important because I may need it during the day, because sometimes the best decisions are made in an alpha state. There were very interesting studies carried out by some researchers on very successful people. So, what successful people had in common? And one characteristic is what they were able to be in an alpha state when they took their decisions, because their decisions were taken on the basis of a higher wisdom, of a higher intelligence. And because in an alpha state, it's much easier to have access to our higher selves. So it's so we are in a better position when we can make decisions in that state of consciousness. And this is one of the characteristics that all these people had in common. They were able to be in an alpha state, even probably they were not realizing they were, but they were able to access some inner resources more easily with respect to a normal state of being of our brain, which is uh, beta waves, uh, which are the typical waves of our daily life, where we are paying attention, when we're studying, when we are looking, or when we are listening to something with our attention. But there is another moment which is very important too, which is when we go to bed in the night. Because something I learned, which was I found really fascinating, and I teach, is how to use sleep to our advantage. Now there are many, many studies showing that it is really possible to change habits or states of mind, um, by listening to specific audios during the night, because during the night, when we reach the state of deep sleep, we are in delta waves, and the delta waves are um, help our brain to be completely free from the rational mind, what we can call the ego, and so we have greater access to the high intelligence, the quantum field, the masters, the invisible helpers, if we believe in them. Um, in any case, a higher intelligence, because we are much more than what we believe we are. We are multidimensional beings, and we also have a level of higher intelligence that we can access. And many people, without even knowing that, use sleep to have answers. And we have a saying in Italy: "There's sleep on it, and you will have an answer." Because that's true. That probably we can ask questions before going to bed. If we are believers, we can call in our guides or angels or Jesus or God or whoever we want, and ask a question in order to have an answer in the morning. And many people actually have answers in the morning, because during the delta state they were able to access this higher intelligence where everything is known and everything is possible, and the answer they get is the right one, because it is not an answer provided by a rational mind, which is very powerful, but not as powerful as the higher intelligence, which has more data and more information than we have, and which is able to see over the fence, as we say. And we can't, as if we're living on the ground floor, and our higher intelligence is living in the penthouse. And so the higher intelligence is the view. And so the higher intelligence is able to see whether a storm is coming, whether the sky is blue, when everything is fine, there is no crowd, and um, there are no problems in the streets, no accidents. So they have an expanded view. And we are on the ground floor, and we can see a little, but we cannot see very much. And so during Delta, during our deep sleep, we can access these incredible states of consciousness. Uh, it is also the moment in which we can dream, and the moment in which I am sure we meet our guides and we meet our invisible helpers. And so we can use the moments before we fall asleep to set the intention for the night, not only for the day, but for the night. One of my favorite intentions is to ask my angels to travel with them, but in full protection, and to show me what I have to know, what I have to learn. And if I have a specific question that I need an answer, I'll ask a question. And then during the day, I pay attention to see whether messages are coming related to that particular question. Sometimes messages arrive in the form of numbers, more rarely for me, because I'm not a number oriented person, or phrases I may hear on TV or on the radio, or things I may read in a book or in a magazine, or a message coming from a friend. Or I remember one day I had a pressing question, and during the day I was not paying too much attention, but I was aware. I mean, I'm trying to be aware of messages, and two people walked by, and they were talking about something, and that was the answer to my question. And of course, I was very grateful. So it's like magic. So having access to these resources is wonderful. So whenever I go to sleep, I set intention for the night. my intention may also be that I want to sleep well, and that I will wake up in the morning rejuvenated, full of energy, completely rested and very well. Uh, this is maybe the only thing I need sometimes. It's also very useful to review um, our day. So whether we would have liked to do something different, or whether we would have said something um, in a better way, we can actually relive those moments uh, with a different approach in our mind, as if we are reenacting the situation and changing what we didn't like. Um, this happens to me very frequently because when I'm reviewing my day, when I am able to do that, because sometimes I'm so sleepy that I set my intention that I fall asleep immediately. But if I have if I feel like if I can, and I'm trying to review my day, sometimes I find that I could have behaved in another way in some situations. And so I try to reenact the scene by changing the narrative. So that particular level of energy is removed, and I have a better sleep. And there is so much we can do um, to change the narrative of what we do, and of what we would like to have, that it's just amazing, because the power of intention is so strong. And so setting the intention for the day is also, well, of course, very important, but also setting the intention for the night is really, really important, because sometimes people believe that sleeping is just a waste of time. I actually believe that. I thought it was really stupid. But then when I realized how important it is for our well-being, and how much we can do during our sleep, even, you know, travels out of our bodies, and meeting interesting people, or going to see wonderful things, um, is just amazing. And this was a kind of revelation to me when I learned these techniques for the night, and I put them in practice to see whether they were working for me, and some of them work very well for me, and especially the easy ones, that I want to sleep well, or I want to travel safely during the night, or if I want to have a specific answer to a specific question. Um, that is really interesting. It's really interesting to see how these things then unfold during the day. That our intentions, for example, my intention for the night may overlap with the intention for the morning, because I may wake up with certain intuition that leads me to set a particular intention for the day, which then gives an answer to a question I asked when I was going to sleep. So that is really, if we realize how to connect the dots, and how everything is connected, this is really magic. And we can actually create and capitalize on this magic, because magic is in the air. So it's magic is there. It's like electricity. You know, electricity exists in nature. Then humans discovered how to harness electricity. It's the same with magic. So magic does exist in the universe. It is just for us to understand how to harness magic, how to capitalize on magic to our advantage, to our benefit. And so it's a never-ending source of energy for all of us, and it's abundant. It's everywhere. We just have to see it. So one intention I have often for my day is to see beauty and magic during the day. So to see the synchronicities, to see all the dots coming together. This is so fascinating because when things started in this way, then I feel so good because I see that reality can really be different from what we sometimes believe, that reality is limited, that there is not much. Actually, if we are able to see with the eyes of magic, with the eyes of abundance and beauty, we will see abundance and beauty and magic everywhere. So this is a great intention to have during the day, during the night, to have a magic night of travel with angels, archangels, or spirit guides. Some people travel with dragons, or unicorns, or elementals, um, or their, divine guides, their visible helpers, or ancestors, or people they loved and who passed away. So it's a really magical world full of incredible helpers, um, really creatures and beings who want to support us and who want to help us. So why not asking them to protect our nights, protect our days, so that we can live happily ever after? Why not? And so that's why I wanted to talk about this particular subject, which is very dear to our heart. But all what I'm saying is actually now confirmed in science. So there is a lot of scientific evidence about what we can do in an alpha state of mind. It is. I've not been able to do that myself. For example, to use delta states of consciousness, being awake. I've not been able to do that. And I know there are a few people who can. So to drop in a delta state, being fully awake. And this is even more magical. But whatever the case, we can actually set intention to hand over a project or hand over a narrative during our delta sleep. We may create a kind of film of what we would like to happen in a certain situation, actually visualizing what we would like to see, what we would like to experience, what we would like to obtain, and then hand over it before going to sleep to our delta state of consciousness. So when we are dropping delta, the film is already there for us to change and to create and to make it happen. And so that's I think is really amazing. We can be our film directors or film producers. We can be the protagonists or the supporting actors or actresses. It's just there is no limit. It's just our imagination can be wild in this. So if we actually create a narrative of what we really want to happen or what we really desire, and we visualize it, we can hand it over to our helpers for our delta state. So when we are dropping in delta during our sleep, we have a project on which we can work, which is pretty interesting because maybe we will be able to work on that project without any limitations of our reality, three-dimensional reality. We may deal with this project in a fifth dimensional reality, which is of course more expansive, where dots come together, there are synchronicities, and magic is really there. And we may ask our angels or protectors or helpers to support us during this kind of work. And and that's why I think we can use these moments to have a better life. And so, but there is a lot of scientific evidence about what I'm saying about the different brain waves and what we can do in the different states of consciousness that we can reach during the day. And it's pretty easy to train our brain to drop into alpha if we're able to meditate whenever we close the eyes and uh, fall in a meditative state, we are in an alpha state. And so we can replicate that during the day. If we have intentions for a meeting, we may have a business meeting and we need to be fully aware of what is happening. We may, do a little bit of meditation or pray, because even when we pray, we can be in an alpha state. And it's more difficult to be in a delta state during the day. I know that there are people who can do that, and that is really a blessing. I tried to learn some techniques, but I've not been able to do that yet. Maybe one day. I'm not in a rush. It's okay, because I know that in any case, I am there all the nights. So there is always a delta state for me. So even if I'm not awake, I have set intention that there is a project for me waiting where I'm in delta, so I can be a more expansive version of myself, probably the better version of myself, to work on that project. And things are going to be so much better. Results are going to be clearly better with respect to working on a project during the day with our three-dimensional limitations. And so why shouldn't we use these precious, precious moments to change our lives for the better, even for small things? I suggest we should always start with small things, baby steps, because starting with huge projects is always more difficult. I think that by taking baby steps and putting things in practice and seeing what works for us is really very important, so we get confidence, and we also realize what really works for us and what doesn't work for us. Not all techniques, for example, work for me. Some of them do not work at all. They do not resonate with me, and I'm sure it's the same for everybody else. So there are so many techniques that we can learn to access these states of mind, that I'm sure that there will be one for you as well. If you want to know more about this, why don't you write to me on my Facebook page, Syl Ver, and I can talk to you if you want to have private sessions, or if you want to have group sessions. Why not? I do them also online, and I have many students online. And there are so many things that we can learn which are so precious. And I am so grateful that I was able to find the people who taught me, because now I can really use these techniques to my advantage every single day. And I have to say that my life has really changed for the better. And with this, I would like to say bye from Rome, Italy. Now it's late at night, so I'm going to prepare myself for my wonderful sleep. And I would like also to wish you a wonderful 2021. And I'm sure that, we will be able to really capitalize on this new year, which is a year that takes place after 2020, which was a year of change, we have to say, with very negative things, but also with very positive things. So, and I hope that we will be able to capitalize on the positive things that happened during 2020 to have a wonderful 2021. Bye. Ciao to all of you. Bye-bye.